不仅是在技术上的创新，那在整个永续的议题上也在创新。他们今年首度的发行这个人权的这个专门的一个报告书，去诉说。好，所以刚刚各位可以看到，台积电在这个整个台湾少子化的部分，它对于这个员工鼓励他们生育是做了蛮多的一个鼓励跟帮助的。好，那我们接下来我们就再邀请我们最后一个讲者是 YFY 这个黄大佑先生呢来介绍。那 YFY 本身而言，这个公司是做包装的部分，所以他们要介绍在包装这个产业在永续的一些相关的一个作为跟成果。那我们以掌声来欢迎一下我们这个黄大佑先生，谢谢。麻烦那个影音同仁帮忙一下投影片。
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. 大家下午好，大家下午好。My name is Gordon, and I'm the Sustainability Manager at YFY Jupiter. I come from the US. I do apologize in advance. The presentation I'm going to be giving will be in English. So if you have any questions afterwards, you can please come to our booth at 801. Myself, as well as some of my colleagues, will be able to answer some of your questions. So, as I was preparing for this presentation and also for the exhibition, I came to the realization that I needed a pair of scissors. And given the fact that I came from the US, it's not the best idea to bring something sharp onto the airplane. So then I went to the local store near my hotel, bought a pair of scissors. It came in this hard, rigid plastic packaging. Took it back to the hotel, and then I realized that it's nearly impossible for me to open it with my bare hand. So then, after trying for a long period of time, eventually, I realized that I had to give up. And I went to the hotel lobby and asked them for a pair of scissors so that I can use it to open the packaging to get to the product that I bought. Just in case if you haven't caught on yet, the topic that I'm really passionate about, that I want to talk about, is packaging. Sorry. Okay. Okay, packaging is everywhere in our life. It is also vital to our human development. Consider this. The ability to store and preserve food has allowed human development to go from a hunter and gathering society to one that is foraging, to one where farming becomes possible, and a modern day where you and I can go to the local supermarket to pick up the fruit and vegetable that we want. Similarly, the ability to store and protect packaging has allowed us to be able to travel to all corners of Earth and beyond. And before the digital age, remember the simple mail and envelope, right? Envelope is a type of packaging. It has allowed humans to be able to communicate long distance, far away, for as long as we have remembered before we had the use of cell phones and emails. As I mentioned earlier, packaging is everywhere in our life. Each day, we interact with hundreds, if not thousands, of packaging, knowingly or unknowingly, right? The drink that we always hold, right? Taiwanese love our bubble teas. The bento boxes that we eat from. Even further beyond that, packaging has been essential, and it has been with us through some of the most memorable moments of our lives. Right? Remember that Christmas present or the birthday present, to be able to unwrap that beautiful bow tie and to dig into that colorful wrapper, right? Or even the fancy jewelry box that holds that diamond ring, where when you get down on one knee and you propose to your significant other. Packaging has been everywhere in our lives. Packaging has also been that first interaction with a brand. Consider as a brand owner, right? A lot of us here are. As someone who is able to provide a product to customers around the world. Typically, what customers see on the shelves is not your product, it's the box that contains your product. Right? Most of us will probably remember our favorite childhood snack. We probably don't remember how it tastes like, but if it's on the shelf, we could probably see it from far away. Right? It's probably that yellow, red, or orange bag. But at the same time, packaging is very problematic. Consider that the US EPA has done surveys that have shown that packaging products today make up about 28% of all municipal solid waste. Now, as a brand owner, if I ask you, how much does your packaging cost? And if you tell me it's 28% of your overall cost, you shouldn't probably be in business because your business is probably not doing really well. But know that, at least in the US right now, 28% of overall waste comes from packaging. So then when we talk about SDG, sustainable development, we need to include packaging because packaging is vital. It has been vital for our development, for our growth, and it will continue to be vital. Then the question becomes then, well, what does packaging have to do with sustainability? Or if we flip it around, what is sustainable packaging? Now, I get this question a lot from our clients. And the way how I describe it to them is with a childhood fable. Right? The fable is the blind man and the elephant. Or if you're in the US, you probably know it as the 7 blind mice. 盲人摸象的故事. Now, in that story, each individual blind man will go up to the elephant. They know already that they are touching and feeling the same thing, right? But then when they start to describe the object to each other, they realize that, hey, what are you talking about? You know, that's not what I'm feeling, right? It's not long, right? It's supposed to be like a tree trunk. Sustainability is the elephant, right? The English jargon, right? Sustainability is the elephant in the room, right? From that perspective. And each of us here, and also everyone on Earth, are the blind men or the mice. So then, how do you describe what sustainable packaging is? At YFY Jupiter, we are a packaging service provider, and we like to call ourselves comprehensive, end-to-end. And so then when we try to describe what sustainable packaging is to our clients, we try to break it down into something very simple. And the way how we do it is by breaking it down into 3 separate topics: responsibility sourced, environmental impact, and end of life. Right? What do I mean by that? Let's take this water bottle, for example. Right? From a sourcing perspective, what is the bottle made of? In this case, it is a PET, plastic number 1. Right? But where does it come from? Does the plastic come from locally in Taiwan, right, across the sea, in Asia, or even further in the different continents? Does it contain recycled material, right? Now we all talk about recyclability, recycling, and use of recycled material. Is this PET or rPET? And if we're talking about rPET, how many % of rPET is exactly in this bottle? And as a brand owner, we all try to strive for the most sustainable product or the sustainable materials, right? So for example, Coca-Cola and all the branded beverage companies, they have said that, hey, we use 100% recycled material. Now, how do they know, right? What's the certificate behind it? How do we get the exact amount each time in every bottle? That is what sustainable packaging is when it comes to responsible sourcing. Now, if we get to environmental impact, we start to talk about the supply chain, right? It's no longer just about the materials. It's about the design, the manufacturing, and also the logistics and transportation, right? The environmental and the social aspects of manufacturing becomes important. Where do we get a specific material from? How is it manufactured? Is it efficient, right? If I have a material that is supposed to be the most sustainable, but I can only source it from the US, but I have my manufacturing plant in Taiwan. Should I find something that is maybe not as sustainable in Taiwan, but I can source locally? Or do I bear the burden of that carbon logistic transportation and buy that material from the US to ship it to Taiwan? That is sustainable packaging. Now, finally, from the end of life. Typically, brand owners don't really consider what end of life is because by that time, the product was already in the consumer's hand, right? So you and I, we are all consumers. We buy this bottle from the store. We see that it has a recycling label on here, right? The universal recycling label from Taiwan. So that tells us, hey, this bottle is recyclable. When I finish the water, I should toss it into the recycling bin and not into the trash can. That is the end of life for consumer. But is it the end of life for planet Earth? Probably not, right? We have to consider then, what exactly do the bottle go once you toss it into the recycling bin? Does it actually become recyclable? Does it actually become another bottle in its form? Or does it get to the landfill? That is sustainable packaging. Now, when we talk about sustainable packaging and sustainable development and how the interaction is between these two, we need to start to consider what each and every one of our roles are. And each individual here, we all play a part of the role, right? We are all blind men. We may not all see what exactly sustainable packaging is, but collectively, we can probably get a bigger picture of what the whole elephant or what the whole sustainable packaging is. There's a lot of regulators here, government officials, right? You are able to influence and implement rules and regulations. And globally, there has been a lot that has happened already, right? The laws and the regulations, extended producer responsibility. I know a lot of brand owners will probably hear that a lot. That's coming out from Europe, right? And now it's becoming more and more important in the US, in India, in Australia. And it has actually even been proposed in legislation in Taiwan, but it's still in proposal, so we're still okay here a little bit, right? UK has plastic tax, right? And recently, PFAS, right, fluoride has become a really key talking point, not only in Taiwan, but globally, right? What are some of the harmful chemicals that we have consumed because of the single-use packaging that we use, right? What are some of the harmful chemicals that has gone into the coating of our favorite bubble tea drink, right? Can we have a replacement for that? Regulators throughout the world are making changes. Now, same thing with others. There's a lot of scientists, there's a lot of engineers, innovators out there, in the world. They are driving changes, right? We start to get more and more materials that are driving sustainability. Replacements for plastics, right? Fossil fuel-based plastics is on its way out, hopefully, eventually. We're getting more synthetic materials. We're getting plastics such as those that are made from cornstarches, from mushrooms, from seaweed, or from other mixtures that can potentially reduce and or minimize the overall microplastic problem. And we can even go beyond that, right? As a brand owner, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, how do you align your brand to your product, to your packaging, so that each one of those communicate the same information to your customers, so that when your customers see something on the shelf, they go like, I want to buy this because this company stands for what I stand for. Now, going beyond that, truck drivers, right? Plant managers, right? Assembly people. Now, the efficiencies that they provide can also help reduce overall carbon costs within the supply chain of packaging as well as products. And finally, the packaging professionals, the people that are usually on the first high end of the supply chain, right? My colleagues at YFY Jupiter do design, do procurement, do all these other aspects of packaging. We are able to try to drive toward a more sustainable future. So then, when we start to talk about sustainable packaging, we want to be able to then have some action, right? Because what's all the talk about if you can't follow up with things to do? At YFY Jupiter, typically when we communicate with our clients, we do it through 3 separate aspects. 1 is material, 2 is design, and then the last one is process management. As I mentioned earlier, material. What is the most sustainable material that aligns with your company value, with your product, and with your stakeholders, right? We're not championing reducing or removing plastic altogether. There are some products that require plastic, but then what is the best way of reducing or minimizing fossil fuel-based plastic? That can be another question, right? Same thing from a design perspective. Going back to this bottle, right? This one has, 100 mils, maybe 200 mils of water. The way how the bottle is designed, it's a fit form to fill enough water to the top. Now, from a design perspective, the material was sustainable, but then what happened if I make this bottle double the size? Is it still sustainable? Probably not, because then half of the bottle is going to have air. So then from a design aspect, you can see that just because the material itself is sustainable doesn't mean that the overall product and the overall packaging can be sustainable. Furthermore, why do this bottle have to have ridges? Why does it have to have a flat bottom on the bottom? Right? Why does it have to have a cap with a security label on it? It's because each of these aspects of design takes into account not only the environmental impact, but also the social impact, the end users, the different stakeholders, right? When you transport this bottle, what happens if the box fell in your truck? It goes flat. Well, is it going to break the bottle? Maybe, maybe not. when a user holds this bottle, right? As a grown man, I can probably grip it really well. But what happens if a kid or if a child is holding this bottle? How do you design the ridges to make sure that this bottle doesn't fall out of their hand? Those are all aspects of sustainable design. Then finally, from a process management perspective, typically brands do not really think about packaging. The first thing that they think about is their product. But because of the regulation changes, because of the requirements, right, some of these ESG reporting, some of the EPR reportings that are coming out globally, more and more brands start to say, oh my God, all my supply chain have these data. How do I go about collecting it from my entire supply chain, right? It's easy to collect from the supplier that supply you the material, but how about their supplier? How about their supplier, right? From this bottle, going back to this bottle again, sorry, I keep grabbing it. The bottle itself is made of plastic, but how about this wrap here, this plastic wrap? How about the cap, right? With this recycling label here, the reason why it says this bottle is recyclable is because the cap and this plastic film here is small enough that you could actually sort it out from the recycling facility. But because of the size of this film and because of the size of this cap, these two pieces actually go to the landfill, right? So then is this bottle sustainable? Just because it says recyclable on the label itself. So then, future sustainable packaging, right? Packaging, as I mentioned earlier, is throughout our lives. It is vital. It has been vital to the growth and the development of human society, and it will continue to be. So when we talk about all the SDGs, right? SDG number 17, partnership with each other to achieve a goal. That's what we at YFY Jupiter want to do, right? Collectively, all our colleagues are experts in different fields, but then we still specialize in packaging. We don't do product management. We don't do logistics, really. And some of the other aspects that makes a product to be able to go from the material it has all the way to the consumer, then from the consumer again to potentially, hopefully not get into the landfill, but to be circular, right? That is the future of sustainable packaging. So then I want to thank everyone for allowing me to talk about this topic that I'm really passionate about. I know I'm the last speaker here, so there's probably not as much time now. But if you have time, please go visit our booth at A01. We have an elephant. Again, the elephant in the room is sustainability, right? Come and go and feel the elephant, right? We can all visually see the elephant. And hopefully, that's the same for sustainable packaging as well. All right, thank you, everyone. 谢谢大家.
Okay, thanks for the YFY Jupiter Golden One. Okay, thank you for his excellent lecture. So based on his lecture, that you can understand that it's not easy to define the sustainable packaging. However, we still can make sure that the sustainable material and the sustainable design and also the sustainable waste is very important. And yeah, I think that I'm very appreciative for your participation for this section. 最后我想我们再一次谢谢大家。那我们今天这一段的部分呢，我们谢谢大家。那也非常感谢我们今天的与会的讲者以及我们与会的嘉宾。那会后如果各位对他们任何的一个讲者有兴趣，那他们有摊位或者他们在现场，你都可以跟他交换名片。那我们谢谢大家。那我们明天可以再一次的见面啊。明天我们仍然会继续有一天啊。那明天应该是礼拜六，所以我们现场可能还有一些因为大概今天是上班的时间，所以大概都是比较 B to B 的厂商。那明天应该礼拜六，所以会有一些类似 B to C 的一些这个人呢会过来。那如果你觉得我们这场展示不错，也欢迎你明天可以带你们家的小朋友一起来感受一下，到各个摊位呢去感受一下，也跟他们了解一下各个公司，不管是在金融业或者是建筑业、包装产业，或者是各种不同的产业里面去体验他们的永续的旅程。那再一次谢谢大家参加今天的论坛，那我们就到此结束，谢谢。